and somebody says, what are the real benefits of walking? It sounds pretty outstanding. It sounds like this is the magic elixir that you'd want to take every day. And a moderate daily dose of walking really provides benefits that you just can't get any other way. Now, you got to ask, okay, but how much do I have to go out and walk 2-3 hours a day? I mean, am I going to have to kill myself? And the great news is that epidemiological research that I've described, the studies long-term of people who've been active over a lifespan, suggest that as little as 30 minutes of moderate daily walking is enough to provide tremendous health benefits. In fact, the Surgeon General of the United States published a report in 1996 that summarized all of the research on physical activity and the health benefits. And their conclusion was 30 minutes of moderate daily activity reduces risk for an early death and lots of chronic diseases. The other cool thing about that research is that you can break it up over the day. So a 10-minute walk in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, 10 minutes in the evening seems to provide the same health benefits as if you went out and did 30 minutes all at once. Now, if you say, I like the health benefits, but I'm trying to lose weight or keep off weight that I've already lost, then I'm going to suggest that you need to do more like 60 minutes a day. The Institute of Medicine has published guidelines as well as the U.S. dietary guidelines, both suggesting that about 60 minutes or an hour of daily physical activity is really beneficial and more likely to produce the caloric expenditure necessary to either keep off weight or to burn off pounds. And I'm going to say that walking at a slightly faster tempo is going to help a lot as well. Not at a real hardcore aerobic pace, but just picking up the tempo, walking a bit more purposefully. If, on the other hand, you want real aerobic fitness, I'm talking about the kind of fitness that means if you run around with the dog or run up a flight of stairs, you're not going to be winded. You know, you've got a much stronger heart and lungs and the capacity to do aerobic activity and not get winded. Now you really do have to pick up the pace and walk at a faster tempo. The good news is you only need about 20 to 30 minutes of that, and you only need it several days per week, as opposed to the 30-minute per day recommendation, which says, look, every single day, get those 30 minutes to live a long, healthy life. For aerobic fitness, as little as 2 or 3 days a week, as long as you pick up the pace and really get your heart rate up, you're going to gain a substantial aerobic benefit. And one of the tools I'll use is your rate of perceived exertion. Now, that's a technical sounding term. That's what fitness trainers use to describe how intense a workout is. And it may sound techy, but it's really simple. Imagine a 1 to 10 scale in which 1 is sitting on the couch watching TV and 10 is running so fast you don't think you could take 5 more steps at that speed. You know, you're really breathing hard. You're going to throw up. You're working that hard. So that's a 1 to 10 scale. 1 very easy, 10 very hard. Well, on that RPE, or rate of perceived exertion scale, health walking, that 30-minute per day, live a longer, healthier life pace, that's really only about 5 or 6. So it's right in the middle of the scale. It's a very sustainable speed. It's walking as if you're going to the corner store, out for a walk with a friend. You're not dawdling. You're not window shopping. You're walking to get somewhere, but you can certainly carry on a comfortable conversation. Getting up to the weight loss pace is a bit faster, maybe a 6 or 7 on the RPE scale. And that's more intense. Certainly, you'd notice your breathing at this speed, but you're still walking in control. You're not breathing out of hand. You're not gasping or wheezing, and you could carry on a conversation. Getting up to the aerobic fitness pace, that's more like an 8 or 9 even on the RPE scale. Well, at that pace, you're very noticeably breathing. You've certainly elevated your heart rate. And now conversation would be a little bit more of a challenge. You could talk to somebody, but you wouldn't carry on a constant conversation while you're on a walk with them. And those 3 levels really are very easy to progress through, from the health walking pace to the weight loss pace up to the aerobic fitness pace. Although one might ask me, how exactly do you do it? How do you intensify a walk and move from just, that healthy stroll to a real aerobic workout? There are a few different ways, and Dr. Weil alluded to one, which is walking uphill. To walk uphill increases your heart rate by as much as 15 to as much as 70% over walking on the level ground at the same speed. Hills actually make you work harder both going up and down, because your muscles have to work to lift your body weight going up, but they have to work to decelerate you as you go down. So walking uneven terrain is really a beneficial workout in both directions, both up and down. And the only trick there is that you don't want to do any damage to your knees or ankles, and one way to do that is to moderate how often you do it. 2 or 3 days a week of vigorous hill walking as opposed to 6 or 7 days a week. Another option is Nordic walking. Nordic walking is the idea of walking with ski poles, basically. In fact, it came from cross-country skiers who were trying to stay fit during the summer when there was no snow on the ground, so they'd walk with their ski poles. And it's catching on in Western Europe and now in North America as well as a real hot fitness activity. People take the ski poles or Nordic walking poles, because they've actually made special ones designed just for walking. They're very lightweight, single-piece poles, and they walk with them in a motion just like cross-country skiing. So as you take a step with your left foot, you pole with your right hand, and as you take a step with your right foot, you pole with your left hand. Walking at just a moderate pace, Nordic walking, will burn about 20% more calories than walking normally at the same speed. But if you really pole vigorously, you can burn as many as 45% more calories. And the great news is you're also getting an upper body workout. The way you're burning more calories is by recruiting the muscles of the chest, the shoulder, the back, the upper arm. All of those muscles get involved in a way that they simply don't when you're walking normally. When you start thinking about walking gear like Nordic poles, some people say, well, what about hand weights? Shouldn't I just carry those? However, the research is pretty clear that that's not a great idea. It turns out that it can lead to shoulder and elbow discomfort. And there's a thing called the pressor response. Gripping a hand weight can actually artificially elevate your blood pressure somewhat, and that's something you really don't need. There's also the possibility that it's going to throw off your natural walking gait. So in general, I discourage people from carrying hand weights. Instead, I say, go out and have a good vigorous walk, and then afterwards, spend a few minutes with the hand weights if you're looking for some upper body conditioning. Or if you really want to carry something along on your walk, use the Nordic walking poles. Others have asked about weighted vests, the notion of a vest which actually has weights that you can add to it to add to the intensity of your walk. However, the findings are that those don't add all that much intensity to a walk unless you really pile the weight on. Turns out carrying weight close to your body is a really efficient way to carry it, and unfortunately that means it's not a particularly good way to make a workout more intense. A walk doesn't become more intense until you've added an awful lot of pounds, and that becomes pretty cumbersome. So I'm not a big fan of the weighted vests either.